Chris Devenski, what excites you about his opportunity here?
Yeah, I was with Devo in 19 in Houston, and elite competitor, great guy, and was throwing the ball really well. Throwing the ball well in spring, and then unfortunately, we had the line drive in Lakeland, but he's been throwing the ball well down in Indy, and pumped to get him up here.
What was your impression in 2019 then versus what your impression is now having to manage him?
He's an elite competitor. The arsenal is really good. The changeup is elite, and he was using it pretty effectively down in Indy.
He's a guy who can bring a lot of wisdom to this bullpen, maybe in a time where, the bullpen, you have a lot of guys up and down right now. They've been going through some stuff, but he's been through the ultimate peaks and valleys in this league. So how much does a presence like him in that pen right now mean to this team?
Yeah, what he's been through, won the World Series, pitched in a lot of big games, and to have that experience to, impart on other guys out there and what he's been through, the ups and downs, definitely will help for sure.
What have you seen from the bullpen of late, where there's been a lot of difficult situations they've been put in, but overall results have been solid?
Have been really solid, and I think we talked about post game last night, the first game, to be able to fill the innings like they were able to, and then last night, Barco having such a tough travel day coming up, being able to help us, that's the cool part of the game too, is coming up he did more than maybe we could have hoped for and asked, and unfortunately he had to make a roster move, and he gets sent back down to Indy doing everything that he could possibly do to help us. And I think that that's the teammate that he showed that he is that although we didn't win the game last night, he put us in a position from a bullpen standpoint to be ready to go tonight with a full rested pen, because he was able to cover those innings. So I think that the bullpen throughout the season has done a really good job. Started opening day, when Paul goes 2/3 of an inning, and for them to be able to take that on, and they've continued that throughout this early part of the season.
Yeah, everybody's available for you tonight.
Yeah.
Devenski, how much did the line drive in Lakeland affect his chances of making it? Did he have a shot at making the team, or was that one of those things where?
It was still a little too early in spring. I know we were getting towards the end, but not at a point that we were close to making any final decisions, and definitely in the conversation for sure.
Anything in those two at-bats from Cruz that maybe you got to re-click for him? Because it basically was left on left, right?
Left on left.
So, I know it was a little bit of a couple of weeks there was a little bit of struggle. Is he kind of, you think, getting back on track, or still a few things?
I think so. When you look at O'Neill and the work that he's put in, I think that's the crazy part of baseball is we know it's 162, and you know that there are going to be peaks and valleys. I think he's done a really good job this year. It started in the offseason, tackling the left on left, and the success that he's shown early on to be able to handle lefties and hit the ball with power. The thing that's really impressed me is his defense continues to get a lot better. We made some plays in Milwaukee that he made look really easy. There was one that he came in on that was not an easy play, and because of the jump he got and the speed, he got there really easily.
Tony, what Bubba needs to do to find that good version of himself, do you see that as being physical, or is that something like a young pitcher got to get him relaxed, stay consistent? Just how do you sort of assess what you need to get with him?
I think that as these guys go through learning what it takes to pitch at this level, there's probably a lot of different things that are going on as far as the physical consistency and the mechanical adjustments that need to be made, and then finding whatever that is that gets you back in the zone. I just remember playing with Verlander. He could say you walked a guy on 4 pitches and then went 2-0. Sounds counterintuitive, but he would throw a curveball, and it would be the curveball that would get his release point back to allow him to feel that fastball release point and get back in the zone with that. So I think that as these guys go, learning what that is for them at this level, that's going to help them get back in the strike zone quickly, and that's the adjustment, pitch to pitch, that these guys learn who they are, and I think Bubba's still going through that and learning that.
What has been impressive too, I know we've talked about it a little bit with his mindset this year, but after each outing, no matter what has happened, his first response is sort of like flush it, move on. But how important do you think the growing pains he went through last year to get to this level have maybe shaped that mentality as he goes through struggles here?
Yeah, I think it helps. The one thing with Bubba is we've talked about too, Bubba is Bubba, and he's gonna be fiery, and he needs to pitch with that edge that he brings. That's what drives him and makes him great, and finding the balance between that and in holding himself accountable and also understanding that how do we flush it, how do we move past it and get back in the zone and continue to work in the bullpen. He had a great side session this week, was working on a couple different things that sounded like it went really well, and pumped to see him out there tonight.
How do you want to see him use his fastball differently? I mean, there's so much just elevation kind of living there at the top of the zone, but arm side, glove side, lower quadrant, is that something that could expand his?
I think for him, he's got to learn what that is. Like talking about Verlander's curveball, is there something with the fastball that can allow him to feel that and get back in the strike zone? Because as we know, the fastball is elite. When he throws it at the top of the zone, it's going to be extremely difficult to hit. It's just being consistent and being able to locate it up there as opposed to it riding up and being high. So what is that adjustment that he needs to make that he's continuing to learn himself on being able, and the fastball, it's so good, I think it's going to stun guys at the bottom because they're going to think it's down, and then next thing you know, it hugs the line at the bottom because of the elite carry that he's got.
And he's still getting chased.
He'll still get chased, yeah.
Well, you guys got a stretch of 10 games against division opponents here. Given how tight the race is so far, that every team has a winning record and you're all within, I think, 3.5 or 4 games of each other, does that put any extra pressure on it, or is it one of those things where you look at this, say it's going to be like this all season? How do you view that?
I think it's going to be like that all year, and I think that's when we sit here and talk about playing, I know internally we're focused on ourselves. What do we have to do every day to get better, put yesterday behind us, continue to compete at that level? I think that all the teams in our division are strong, and we need to find a way to handle ourselves and find a way to go out there tonight and compete like we have been all the season. And we know that there are 4 other really good teams in the division that have started off strong as well, and I think it's going to be like that all year. It's exciting.
Is it hard not to scoreboard watch and see who's moving up and down in the standings, or knowing that a win or a loss could affect the standings night to night?
Every game matters, and I think it's it's always too early to be scoreboard watching. You see what's going on, and the number one thing is for us to take care of ourselves and be prepared every night to go compete at the level that we expect to.
Any feedback on Triolo and Altoona from last night?
Sounded great. I mean, it.
The health-wise responding well.
Yeah, it sounded like everything went well. I know he had a lot of success, and sounds like he got to test the knee out in a lot of different areas. So all the reports that we got back were very positive.
No, it's obviously still a few days away before he could potentially return, but a little bit of a different spot than it was at the beginning of the season, knowing that you have someone who's essentially going to be your shortstop every day in Connor Griffin. How do you anticipate trying to find the balance between playing time between Tree, York, Gonzalez when there's not too many spots to go around?
Yeah, it's a good problem to have. When you're talking about guys that have had success, that can play at a high level in different ways. We've got to make sure Tree comes through this in a good spot, and then we've got some decisions made.
Donnie, looking at Connor, I mean, it seems like you've been swinging the bat a bit there recently. What have you noticed from maybe his approach or some of the things he's doing that's allowed him to have a bit more success, especially against like higher velocity pitches in the sinker?
Yeah, it seems like he's been going the other way really well. And when you look at the base hits he's had, and he showed the 2 home runs that he's hit is something he has the unique ability to do and drive the baseball out to the other way. On a line, that was really impressive last night what he was able to do. And then the first one in Milwaukee going to the bullpen, I think just when he's going up there with that right center approach, he's going to catch some balls out in front too and drive the ball out to left, and has the ability to leave to any part of the ballpark.